Wait for it. Wait for it, and we're live. Hey, all you crazy sci-fi and fantasy fans. It's time for your daily dose of shenanigans over here at the Blasters and Blades podcast. Just a couple of nerdy veterans and one chaos coordinator geeking out over our science fiction passions and fantastical fantasies. A place where magic is king, the sky is the limit, and space is the place. We are the podcast that puts the fun in dysfunction. So without further ado, speaking of space, did you guys see the news about the SpaceX explosion?
Boom! It was really cool looking.
Unscheduled disassembly.
So I'm not the only one that watched that one with morbid curiosity.
It was cool.
Mm-hmm. I will link that video, dear listener, so because this will air about a month later, where it's not current news anymore.
Right.
So I will link the video we're talking about. But there was a spectacular explosion as SpaceX learns through trial and error.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like Jana and I are the only two that watched it.
I haven't read any news all day.
Yeah, I've been out of tune all day.
We've been too busy reading cookies.
Yeah, I see what you did there. All right, so this is the part where we ask our guests to introduce themselves to our listeners and viewers at home. So first, Chloe, can you introduce yourself? Madam Chloe Garner, first of her line.
I would love to. You know, I put that in a book, right?
Awesome.
So good.
I am Chloe Garner, authoress of science fiction, fantasy, urban fantasy, a little bit of horror, a little bit of western, a little bit, a lot of other things. Big chaotic universes and lots of characters off on adventures.
You have the same problem, to quote my my academic advisor when I had 4 majors. You have a failure to commit.
I have broad interests.
I wish you had been here to give me that one line back to the professor who tried to shame me for being a quadruple major. I should have just committed to him, dang it. All right, next we have Miss Hunter K. Wallace.
You know what? Give me a little later. I have the blur on.
Okay.
Oh, it doesn't matter. I forgot.
It doesn't matter. It shows you fine. You're adorable.
I can't see my hands so great, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're doing great.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm Hunter K. Wallace, and I'm the author of the Migratory Farmer series, which is pretty cozy. I mean, there's cozier, but it's pretty cozy. And I like crazy magic and reading really cute love stories, and that sums me up.
One of these days, you're going to come on the show, and when we ask you to introduce yourself, you're just going to go, freedom! Okay.
And I'd be there for it. That'd be funny.
We'd be clapping. I bet we could even get Jesse to come in a kilt for you that day.
There you go. With bold markings and...
I would have to get one, but yeah, I suppose I could do that.
What a good excuse.
Why don't you have one? Doesn't everyone?
You going to wear one for your wedding?
You know, I looked at I gotta wear my hat, outlaw author. I gotta wear my hat for my wedding. No, he's the Scottish in my ancestry, despite my name coming from that, only like 5%. I got more Wales than Scotland, so oddly enough. So anyway,
you can just wear a kilt instead of like proper patterning. It just has the Wales flag on it.
I mean, the Welsh wear kilts too, I think.
Yeah, well, Wales has its own patterning and everything.
Ooh.
Yeah,
there
Wales
you go.
is also
I gotta get caught up then. I'm sure Nettles will help me out. He'll help me pick one out.
There you go. All right, next we have the lovely Miss Jenna S. Brown, who sometimes cosplays as Jenna Ray.
Yep, I'm Jenna S. Brown. I write urban fantasy, science fiction, fantasy, and other bits and bobs under the pen name Jenna Ray. There are also others of me floating around, but you don't need to know about that just yet. And I'm excited. This is going to be fun. And because it's cozy fantasy, I'm going to sit here and work on my crocheting because, it is the coziest of all activities, as you can tell by the fact that I'm dying of heat under this thing because it's an Afghan and it's 103 degrees here. But I'm committed because I've got a niece who thinks she's getting married and needs a cozy.
Bits and bobs.
Are you concerned about her actually getting married? You said she thinks she's getting married.
Well, it's a long story, and currently she's in Montana, and the boy just got home here, and we'll see what happens in about 9 months when she also gets home. But her mother says be prepared. So these take a long time to get worked up. I'm just going to get it done. And then if they don't get married, I will put it in a cedar chest and it will wait for her.
There we go.
So it's hers either way.
Waste not, want not.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
All right. So, Jesse, James, Fane, outlaw author extraordinaire. If you could introduce yourself to our listeners and viewers at home.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jesse James Fane. I go by the Outlaw Author because the branding pretty much writes itself. I write anything with a sword fight, a fist fight, a gun fight, or any other kind of fight, focusing on martial and revenge tales. That could be sci-fi, fantasy, redneck horror comedy. It doesn't matter. If I can find a way to spin it, I will write it. I, too, have broad interest.
All right, last but certainly not least, we got Miss Melissa McShane.
Hi, I'm Melissa McShane. I am currently coming to you from my actual home in Utah as opposed to India, where I live most of the time. So this is my real library, and I'm really happy to be in it, even though it is extremely cold in the basement. I write many different types of fantasy. I write historical, alternate history fantasy. I write contemporary fantasy. I write secondary world fantasy. And I am really glad to be here to talk about cozy fiction.
Oh, freaking standing. All right. So you guys have all been on the podcast before, multiple times for each of you. So rather than ask you the same religion questions, I was like, well, let me see if I can find options for cozy. And I couldn't. So instead, I'm going to ask some more questions, slightly different slants to it. And I will ask you, what is the most recent book you finished reading? Chloe.
I am one of these authors that puts all of my spare time into new words, which means that when I do read something, it's often non sequitur. I'm reading a Thomas Sowell book on education.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, I've read some of his works. He's a smart dude.
I think I have that one over here.
There are 3 different ones to pick from. I found
That's
one
true.
of the 3, but I want education is the next one. I just didn't find it at the library the first swing.
Yeah. I recommend Basic Economics. Thomas
It's
Sowell.
on my table. Yeah.
Excellent book.
Yep.
Excellent
That
book.
one too.
Yeah.
A little bit of dry reading before bed helps you
A
sleep,
little
right?
bit. He's
He's
really good.
brilliant, and
Yeah.
everything makes sense when he puts words on it. I love it.
Okay. All right. Next, what have you been reading, Miss Hunter K. Wallace?
I just read the most beautiful cozy. Oh, it's a cozy fantasy called The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. A librarian in a magical world rescues a bunch of spell books from a library during a revolution, and then she hides them in her family cottage, where she uses them to make spells to help her neighbors, and she also makes jam, a lot of jam.
You like jam, I take it?
Everyone should make jam.
I mean, it's cute. Everyone likes jam.
I was going to say, do people not like jam? I've never met
I
anybody.
mean,
It's like, nope, jelly only. Forget the jam.
every time someone says
Marmalade.
jam, I'm remembering that old commercial for the marmalade and like the Beverly Hillbillies joke that if you drink jelly, you're just uncultured. So, okay. All right, now I want some jam, and it's just like, you guys are horrible for my diet. You know that, right?
Well, yeah.
Well,
Jana,
yeah. Sorry.
what have you been reading?
I have been reading. So Alana Andrews did a series that is her Houses series, and I'm reading the spin-offs about Catalina. So it's Emerald Blaze and Ruby Fire and Sapphire or something else. And I've been reading those I've read them before, but it's kind of one of those fun to go back to. And I'm working on some urban fantasy. So rereading some stuff that I love to get my brain in that space. They're very cute.
Okay. What about you, Jesse?
For just finished reading, let me make sure I get the number right. I think it was 3. It was Amazon Apocalypse 3, which is harem lit RPG. Really good, great character system, great story, great characters. And we'll wrap back around into when we start talking about cozy, which might surprise some people, but I think cozy means different things for different people, and I'll talk about that later.
All right. Next, we have Melissa McShane. What have you been reading, madam?
Well, I just finished listening to book 7 of Dungeon Crawler Carl, which is called This Inevitable Ruin. The audiobooks are amazing. I can't recommend it for everybody because there is a lot of really strong language and violence and gore. But if you don't have a problem with that, the audiobook narrator, Jeff Hayes, is some kind of demon god because he can sound like a woman. And it's convincing. It is so convincing that my children thought there were 2 narrators for this
Wow.
book, but it's all just him. So we just finished listening to that, and it was really great. It was a fun way to come back to that series, and we really have no idea when the next book is coming out because he's not on a very quick schedule, but it was really fun.
So I just finished because I've been doing some hitting the trail to get back in shape again, but also, it's that time of the year where yard work takes a lot of your time.
Mhm.
So I literally just finished binge listening to the Warlock series, book 1 and 2, that's out by Daniel Kensington, which is harem lit. It's the magical school thing because Chloe mentioned the magical school thing, so I just looked for that, and that was the first book that came up because I wanted to see what it was about without having to read Harry Potter. Because everybody talks about Harry Potter, and
Mhm.
I haven't even read it yet, or at all, and I have Harry Potter fatigue, so I'm just not doing that.
Mhm.
But I'm gonna look for some non-harem lit versions of that as well. I think just explore the interesting idea. And then I read the Conscript series in audio, which is books 1 through 4 that's out. Book 5 is due at the end of the year. That Scott Bartlett wrote, which is sort of go to war, go to jail, Space Marine stories. And I finished Feral Mage, which is also a harem lit by Chase Kilgore, but it's got some interesting takes on fantasy. And believe it or not, my doctor at the VA recommended it. So I'm like, well, it's medical advice, right? So I kind of had to listen to it.
There you go.
So that's what I have been reading. So now that we've talked about what we recently finished, what are you guys actively reading now that you have not finished? Chloe?
Same answer. It's a big book.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Hunter. You're muted. Hunter, you're still muted.
There we
On
go.
Stranger Tides, but no. On Stranger Tides author. He's a Writers of the Future guy.
Tim Powers.
Come on. Tim Powers.
Mm-hmm.
I am reading with my book club. Yeah.
Nice.
On Stranger Tides by Tim Powers. It is a fun pirate fantasy book that loosely inspired the setting for Pirates of the Caribbean, but that's as much as I can say as far as content overlap.
Yeah. I just hope Tim Powers got paid a lot for the use of that title and loose inspiration, because he's a great writer.
I mean, if someone did that to one of my books.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd probably settle for some nachos and a beer, and you'd like, okay, buddy. Okay.
From my understanding, his book inspired the Disney ride, which inspired the movies, which explains the distance between it and the title of the Pirates of the Caribbean movie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Jana, what are you reading currently?
Well, what I am reading currently will make you jealous because I am editing War Master 9, and I am just past the halfway mark, and it's really, really good. So, and then 10 is next in line for me, so I'm very excited. I will know how it ends before everybody else does. Well, not everybody. You got other readers, but I will before everybody on the podcast does, except you. Yeah. You wrote it. You get to know how it ends.
I know how it ends. Yeah.
But that's what I'm currently reading, and I'm very excited about it, and I'm having a good time.
Yeah.
Okay. What are you reading now, Jesse?
Well, if we get to do that, then I'm currently starting the selection process for the edits of Chaos Theory Biological Bedlam, which is going to be our gene manipulation anthology over at Bayonet Books. It's going to be all mad science and Frankenstein and Jurassic Park style stories. But to do something besides the shameless plug, I'm also listening to The Blade itself, the first book in the first Law trilogy.
That sounds good.
Is that the one
Can
by
I
Joe
send it to you if
Abercrombie?
I can make
Yes.
it cozy?
I couldn't get into that. The Grimdark thing I didn't like any of the characters. Like I actively hated all of them. Even
You don't like
Nine
Nine Fingers?
I mean,
How
the
do
dude
you-
was a little bit psychotic. He could use some Valium, maybe a little bit.
I think that, I mean, I'll all right. We'll discuss that later. I don't know how you don't like.
Fighting words.
Time.
Yeah, I don't know how you don't like Nine. I understand everybody else. Baez and Nine Fingers. I think that's.
Mhm.
I mean, what's a
Story.
war crime among friends, right?
Hey, look, dude. There's no Geneva Convention. What do you mean war crime?
Yeah, that's a good point.
And to quote the fat electrician, it's not a war crime the first
War
time.
crime the first time. Nope. Sure isn't.
Technicalities.
All right, Melissa, what are you actively reading right now?
I'm actually between books because I finished a couple of books on the plane. And I have this project I might have mentioned before where I'm reading a book written in every year that I've been alive. And I am at 1988, I think. And the book for that year is called The Last Coin. It's by James Blaylock, and it has to do with Judas Iscariot's 30 Pieces of Silver.
Oh, nice.
And it interested me enough that I got it more or less without reading I bought it on thrift books without really looking inside or anything. And it's an intriguing concept. He actually wrote a trilogy set in this this story. And I figured, well, if I like this one, I'll read the rest. But I haven't actually started it yet, so there are still a couple of other things I might choose to read instead. But that's on my close horizon for what I'm going to be reading.
Okay. So I am on my yearly, I read Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, which is his book on Stoicism. I read that every year about this time. So I don't know if I really count that because it's just a reread. It's a comfort read.
Yeah, you're reading it.
As far as
Would
any
you call
other
it cozy?
It's comfort read, I guess. It's like a comfort food of a book form. But as far as other reads, I'm actually, because I mentioned those three, I'm actually writing the reviews for them. And so that was like, if I start a fourth book before I finish the reviews for the other three, which I will finish tomorrow, I get details mixed up. So I reach a point where I'm like, okay, I got to stop and let my reviews catch up.
Yeah.
So that's where I've gotten my review for Conscript written and turned in to Upstream, my review for Warlock up, and then which I did as a short video on our TikTok and all the other places, because I'm just trying that experiment, doing some reviews that way out quicker. And Upstream tends to not want to do some of the spicier stuff that I also read. So I kind of respect that for I've given them some that I thought transcended that with books, but this one didn't enough that I thought, yeah, I'll just do a video review of it. And then of course I'm writing the one for Feral Mage now. So I will be starting something soon. I don't know what,
Right.
Probably because money is a thing. I will have to start going through the books I already bought because I've realized I buy books faster than I read books. So maybe I should let myself catch up.
Common problem.
It is a near universal issue.
That's the one
Fun
reason-
fact: if you need to save a few bucks, if you check out ebooks or audiobooks from your library's digital app, the author still gets paid, so you can guiltlessly pay nothing to get some good reads in.
So about that, I actually bought, because I got sick of trying to read on my phone, and I've got a cracked screen right now because I drop my phone all the dang time. And so, and the Kindle can never like keep up with the forced obsolescence where they're constantly making everything to run everything more and more memory intensive. So my Kindle can't keep up with the modern demand. So I'm like, okay, I had 2 books and it's like tilting on me. So at this point, I went and I bought an Android tablet because they're cheap.
Yeah.
And they added the Kindle app, the Audible app, and the librarian said if I bring that in, they will add the ebook checkout and the audiobook checkout. I don't remember.
That's great.
But there are 2 different apps that libraries use. They said they'd add them for me and help me get an account. So
That's good. That's good that they'll do that.
Yeah, they understand people that are suck at technology. They say most of the time that the people are in their 80s, not 40s, but I don't care. I got no shame. I'm going to let them help me.
Yeah, and it's probably faster anyway. I mean, even if you could figure it out, why not let them have some, opportunity to help? So,
right? And
yeah.
they're gainfully employed. They could write that in the little checker book so they can ask next year for more money from the budget because more people are using their services.
People are using the services. This is what they're coming in for.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I'm helping them. By helping me, I'm helping them help themselves. See,
Yes.
there we go.
Yes.
That's some twisted logic right there, right? Like
you are the one who's helping them be able to help the 80-year-olds next year.
That's right. See?
Yep.
That argument, by the way, did not work when I asked for a puppy at 12. But I tried.
I'm sorry.
So, are you guys watching anything good at the moment, Chloe?
Believe it or not, we are doing our very first watch through of Heroes.
Oh.
What's that?
And it's from like the it's not from the mid 90s. It feels
late
like
90s.
Late 90s, early noughts.
Mm-hmm.
And it is such a breath of fresh air where people are allowed to be cute and funny and optimistic and defiant and all of the wonderful, noble, bright things that I love about the genre and not even self-aware about it. It's just how shows were in that era, and I'm loving it. We've been doing a lot of other binge watching other series, and some of the characters I really enjoy and some of the plot elements are really cool, and I'm really looking forward to Sandman coming out because it's absolutely freaking gorgeous. But going back and watching something from that era where you fight and you expect to win, it's just fantastic, and I've really enjoyed it.
Okay. What about you, Hunter?
I just introduced my kids to Mary Poppins, and that was fun because I realized some movies you like because you watched them when you were a kid, and they're crap. This movie aged well.
Okay.
Plus, I understand all the little Victorian things they're saying now that I'm a grown-up.
Are you sure? Are you really a grown-up?
Well, I thought you were going to ask if I really understand.
I think you're smart.
I don't know. I'm 30, so I'm still a baby, right?
Yeah, you are. Sorry.
Jana, what are you reading or watching? Excuse me.
Baseball. It's summertime. In summertime, we watch baseball. So my husband is a big St. Louis Cardinals fan. And then we have a minor league, the Bees baseball here in Utah. So, and all of it is on the television, and the Bees new ballpark is just up the road from us. And my 12-year-old daughter has decided that baseball is her thing. She doesn't want to play it, but she loves to watch it. And so there's the whole pace of it. It's very soothing. And she likes that when we go to the ball games, they're outside. And so you get the roar of the crowd, but the roar of the crowd goes out and up instead of right into her little ears. And so she loves going to watch baseball. So it's summertime, we watch baseball.
The specific team, or you watch like the locals, the Little League? What are you watching?
The St. Louis Cardinals and the Bees here at Salt Lake. The Rockies sometimes if the Cardinals aren't on, because baseball has the weirdest blackouts. Where it'll say, you're not allowed to watch this because you're not in their area. And then it will show us the New York. And it's like, why are we watching the Dodgers when we are in Utah and both the Cardinals and the Rockies are closer to us, but yet that's the game that we get. And with the number of games that they play, there should be baseball on all the time, and yet there isn't. So baseball has some weirdness to it, but if you can find a good game, totally worth watching. Actually not a bad thing to nap to either.
Judging a sport by its nappability, I like that.
There are major points there. There are.
Yeah.
It's very soothing, and you wake up at all the exciting parts because that's when the crowd gets excited. And with modern TVs, you can go back a couple clicks and you can see exactly what happened. So, we don't nap at the parks, but otherwise we do. And at the last game, my daughter picked one of the players and said, "This is my player for the game," and cheered him on. And he had 2 home runs and a triple. And her grandfather is like, "Do that all the time. That was awesome." It's like, okay, yep, we got you. You're the lucky coin.
I just picture like the sign over Janice's front door. In this house, we nap.
Yeah.
To baseball.
to baseball. Right.
It's soothing. It's background noise.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What about you, Jesse? What are you watching at the moment?
I don't do a lot of regular TV or even like Netflix or anything like that. So my big, when I've had time to watch stuff right now, has been there's a dude with a forging channel. It's Alex Steele, and he started doing a axe, and the axe head was titanium to Damascus steel. So he wanted titanium Damascus, which Damascus is just mixed different types of a metal. In this day and age, it used to mean something totally different, but we forgot how to do that. Anyway. Point being is, whenever you see those really cool patterns of different colored steels that all make the same blade, that's Damascus steel. So he did Damascus into Damascus steel because steel holds a better edge for actually cutting things. And it was insane. The axe probably took like $5,000 to make just in materials. The time he had to pump like an inert gas into the heating chamber to be able to make the titanium to forge weld properly. It was crazy. Anyway, but I love smithing. I love blacksmithing stuff. And so seeing somebody do something like that I've never heard of before, seen before, was really cool.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of those smithing videos where they're taking rebarb and weird things and like turning them into blades. It's one of those things where probably not the most practical or useful, but it's just an oddity, so why not?
Yeah,
I mean,
Forged in fire.
Yes, it will kill. I love Forged in Fire.
I did a lot and still on occasion do a lot of Forged in Fire. My 9-year-old will be like, "Dad, can we watch Forged in Fire?" I'll be like, "Yeah, sure, buddy."
Oh, all right. Twist my arm, break my back. We'll watch it.
Hey, it has disability rep. It has an episode where a guy's colorblind, and it teaches how to like sprinkle the salts to see if the metal's hot enough. So you're included in this, JR.
Well, I appreciate them thinking.
Me and JR both.
Oh, you're colorblind too? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm not as bad as you are, but I have whatever the red-green version is. The things like if you put brown and red, like light brown and red in with each other, they blend for me. I have to stare at something and like literally bust out a flashlight and give her the old to actually be able to tell.
So mine is considered part of the red-green side of things, but I have what they call a color differentiation disorder, which basically means I only see the primary colors. So shades of colors do nothing for me. And that's how they found out I was colorblind, because we were drawing in the 4th grade in art. We were supposed to be coloring this picture. It had clouds, so I drew it gray. I think I've talked about this on the podcast before, because that's the only clouds I've ever seen. I didn't know clouds were white and fluffy because I've never seen them. So they thought it was a sign I was depressed. And so when I told the counselor at school, she's like, "Take a colorblind test and get out of my office." So I don't see shades, but I do see textures better than most people do. Which, I guess it's its own benefit if I ever decide to go back and live in the woods.
Yeah.
Not great if you're shopping in a mall, because every clothing item that I see is just like screaming to me all the textures.
I learned why tigers are bright orange and stripy in green jungles.
Why is that?
Because they're green.
Yeah.
Wait, tigers are green?
So they look the same color.
I'm sorry, Hunter. I didn't mean to cut you off. You go ahead and explain.
I was so excited.
Is colorblind, so tigers don't know their pop out bright orange, and neither do their prey.
Okay. Yeah, I was really disappointed because in theory, the colorblind glasses that you see advertised all the time, turns out all those videos are actually paid commercials. They're not real. They've actually interviewed doctors. It's all a scam. It doesn't work. It just adds a tint over everything. But, you'll just see whatever that tint is. It's not like you actually see the colors as normal people would. I was kind of disappointed because I was like saving my money. I was going to go for it because they're like $1,000 a pair.
Oh, wow. Quite the scam.
That'd be a way to try those before you actually lay down the money.
Well, you see things differently because it's a color filter, but it's not seeing true color.
Well, you can't see the true colors. That much makes sense to me, but to shift them away from each other so that you can see them as different seems possible.
Well, I don't know how good it does because according to they did it's not Stossel that does it anymore, but the Consumer Reports did an investigation, and it turns out all the times where they're able to get the colors right, they are like zooming in, and all of them are marked, so they know which ones to pick. Like it was a scam from the beginning.
Wow.
So I was kind of disappointed.
Yeah.
What about you, Melissa? Getting away from colorblindness.
Right. What am I watching? Right. With my husband and daughter, we are watching the people at Oxventure play Deadlands, and it's a role-playing game. It's a Weird West game, and Oxventure started out, and they still do this. They do game reviews and stuff, like 7 times this happened in a game or whatever. So they do that, but they also do play through RPGs for audiences, and they started out. I remember we watched like their very first session, and they just did not know what they were doing, and they were having a great time. And they have come so far, and it is a lot of fun to watch them play. It's a fun, interesting game. I enjoy it even more because I like Deadlands, but our gaming group would not be interested in playing it. So it's fun to experience it that way, since I probably won't get the chance to actually play it. But that's what we're watching.
That's the Savage World system?
I don't remember because we missed the first session where they talked about what Deadlands is. But it's the rolls are successes, it's D6s and D4s, and the die varies according to what you're doing and what the weapon is and stuff like that. So it's not a system I was familiar with.
Deadlands was its own system, and then it actually got absorbed into Savage Worlds.
I see. Okay.
It started off earlier editions of Deadlands had their own. The system in and of itself, if you're an RPG person, wasn't so great. It was fun, but it
and I don't know
a lot better.
I don't know which version they're doing. I assume it is the most recent version, but I don't know. They didn't really talk about it because they're not selling the game; they're selling themselves, and I mean not literally, but it's promoting their brand basically. So they aren't marketing the game, so they make
Breathe, Jesse. In, out, in, out.
They're not. I don't know. I think Andy might be willing to sell himself. Don't tell him I said that. But because he's dramatic. But yeah. Anyway, so that's what we're watching. Is Oxventure presents Deadlands.
Okay, so I just finished the movie The Final Countdown. Was modern-ish because it was filmed in 1980, but a modern aircraft carrier ending up back in World War II, right before Pearl Harbor. Mm-hmm. It was an interesting take on time travel. A little disappointing at the end. And next, I'm about to venture because I'm watching some of the shows from the 80s that I missed. So I'm going to watch the Philadelphia Experiment 1 and then the sequel next. But I just finished The Final Countdown. It was actually pretty good. You did get to see the Tomcat versus the Japanese Zero. But I kind of wanted to see them take on the whole battle fleet and just to see. I mean, I'm pretty sure it would be one-sided, but it'd still be cool to see.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see if they had taken it that way. But I'm a sucker for time travel. So, All right, we have been talking longer than I thought on these questions. I underestimated our ability to prattle on. Not that that's a problem. So we're going to pause for a moment while we shamelessly shill for the woman this time. And then we're going to come back and talk about cozies for as long as it takes for them to get their ideas out. So with that.
Introducing The Shaman's Bones, Migratory Farmers Book 1 by Hunter K. Wallace. This fantasy features fierce animal gods, omens of the stars, and a quest to find a very special set of bones. When Yolanda is made an ambassador in her caravan of migratory farmers, it's a dream come true. Until a trade in a village on the equator goes terribly wrong. The skies foretell trouble, the spirit animals are angry, and shadow monsters prowl the night. Worst of all, Yolanda is supposed to fix everything. To do so, she'll need the bones to summon the greatest spirit animal of all. Yolanda isn't alone. She has the help of a resentful young man whose life she has ruined, a gorgeous bone collector obsessed with corpses, a nanny turned sleuth, and a very attractive blasphemer who hates the spirits even more than she does. She'd rather be alone, or stealing glances at the broad-shouldered, brown-eyed blasphemer. No, she'd rather be alone. Maybe. Learn more about the shaman's bones and other works by Hunter K. Wallace at hunterkwallace.com.
Cool.
All right, thank you for sticking with us through that commercial interlude. So, because we got distracted talking about movies and books and such, I should have known with this panel that would happen. Instead of asking them to repeat the answers they give on a regular basis about what they drink in their coffee, tea, or Dr. Pepper, I will say that be sure to drink your coffee brand coffee. Links in the show notes. Podcast Grug is the discount code, and just insert your answers because you've heard these people talk before. And instead, we're going to jump right into cozy fiction. And so as part of that cozy fiction, we'll define our terms. So I went to some writerly sources, and according to the Writer's Digest, which is the industry trade magazine, cozy fiction is a genre characterized by its comfortable and gentle narratives, often featuring close-knit communities, idyllic settings, and a focus on positive relationships and problem solving rather than intense conflict or violence. It provides a sense of escapism and emotional warmth with stories that tend to end happily and leave the reader feeling soothed. So does that definition work for you guys?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Campfire is
I object.
Okay, go on.
I semi-object. I think that the idea of comforting, the idea of cozy, and the idea of, especially when we talk about like focuses on violence and things like that, I think that that's going to differ drastically between your readers, and it's going to differ drastically between your focuses and your general sexes. I think that what women and men find cozy is going to be very different for the most part. And I think that you're going to have to make adjustments for that. And there's things that qualify for cozy that you wouldn't necessarily expect. All that being said, yeah, that's a fine general working definition. I'm just being a pain in the butt.
So according to Campfire, it says cozy fiction invites readers into idyllic settings where close-knit communities solve mysteries and face life's challenges together. So this one together, all while sipping warm tea by a fire. Bah humbug. It's all about the coffee.
Yeah.
But so this one is focusing on the mystery angle because cozy mysteries, I think, is my understanding, was where it all started.
Yeah.
Another term I've seen for cozies, they call them slice of life stories, is another term I've seen used.
I would say those are not interchangeable, but they're close enough.
Go on.
So, well, because a slice of life story is day-to-day activity, it's not necessarily cozy. So you can have, so what I would say is that cozy fiction is a more general term for slice of life, and slice of life is generally cozy but doesn't have to be.
Because like a lot of women's fiction is slice of life and not necessarily cozy.
No, not
Because
cozy.
they're doing all sorts of things and it's dealing with women's problems and that kind of stuff. But it's very much a slice of life kind of story, but it may or may not be cozy. And so a lot of times you get some crossover, but you don't have to.
Yeah.
To me, the word cozy as a modifier on mystery takes you from police procedurals and thrillers and the deeper mysteries and even your Sherlock Holmes, and it sort of wraps it into a cotton and says, okay, somebody's dead, but we're really not going to focus on that emotionally. And we're going to have a good time. So you're safe here, even though all the bad things happened. And yes, somebody died, and they usually died in some sort of weird or funny way, even because we're allowed to laugh now.
Yes.
And cozy takes something that with the
like
same
Agatha
plot with a different
Christie's
treatment would be intense, and it makes it into something that is a safer place to not have to worry about the dread anticipation of what the next page is going to be.
I would think Agatha Christie is more of a proto-cozy because a lot of what she did, even with Miss Marple, the Miss Marple mysteries are taking place in small villages with a gentle woman and a lot of tea but there are some pretty brutal things that happen, and it's not safe. It's not comforting. It's just not urban. It's not an urban story. So
Well,
I think,
I'll accept proto cozy.
yeah,
She
I
could be the
think
grandmother the
she,
same way Tolkien is like
yeah,
the grandfather of modern fantasy, even though it
yeah.
looks different now.
I think that Agatha Christie and maybe just Miss Marple. I don't know. Poirot is a little bit more of a hard sell for a
Yeah.
but a lot of the Miss Marple certainly was sort of a precursor to what we have now. I think that somebody looked at Miss Marple and said, "Hey, I can do better than that for comfort," and sort of drew on that, and because the elements are still there for cozy. If we're talking cozy mystery, which we're not talking specific genres yet, we were going to define cozy first, but like we were saying, cozy mystery comes before all the others, and
So
so
would Murder, She Wrote be a cozy mystery then, because it's confined to that small town?
First
well,
thing
I
I
consider
thought of,
Murder, She
actually.
Wrote to be the cozy mystery.
yeah,
That's the first thing
Yeah.
that popped in my mind.
Because it's a small town, and again, it's
Mhm.
the death from afar. It's the difference between you see the feet sticking out from behind the bakery counter, and the CSI police procedural. They're going to zoom the camera in, go right down their face, find the
You
hole
get
where
the
the bullet
Y
left, and
incision
the
for
Mhm.
the
the
incision. The whole,
postmortem.
you don't do
Uh-huh.
that in cozy. Cozy
Mhm.
is more of the, oh yes, there are feet there. We know that there's a
Mhm.
dead body. They died because they ate a cannoli wrong. It's things like that. And
Mhm.
then the mystery is around solving the murder, but also, yes, she's falling in love with the small town sheriff, or if it's the
Yeah.
amateur detectives, it's those kinds of things. And
Mhm.
it's about the people as much as it is about the procedure. And I think that version of cozy goes into a lot of different genres, where it's those
Mhm.
stories that are very character driven, very much about the people solving things that are personal, that matter to this small thing, versus the epic stuff where it is, if we don't stop the ticking time bomb, then the entire state of New York is going to explode. That's not a cozy idea. The cozy
Mhm.
is a smaller thing, and if they fail, it matters to them, it matters to their community, but the outside community may not actually even notice if the
Mhm.
tea shop doesn't get its tea back, or the guy who died eating the cannoli just died.
Mhm.
That it may not matter to a bigger picture, but it matters intensely to them.
Yeah.
But
So
you got to
Chloe,
wonder
hold on,
if
hold on,
just
Melissa.
okay. Go ahead.
Chloe
Go
was
ahead. Sorry.
talking, and they overlapped a little bit. So whatever Chloe
Okay.
was saying, we missed. I didn't want to
Yes.
forget.
What did Chloe
Uh-oh.
say?
I don't remember.
We're talking too long. I just wanted to say about Murder, She Wrote, look how long it took us to get from that show to cozy mystery and cozy other fictions. That was it for a really long time. And I think that there's something about either what's being written now as cozy, or the zeitgeist of the world that wants more of this, that makes it appealing now where it wasn't before.
It's
So,
also possible that cozy needed to be distinguished, where before it was just a story.
yeah, that's true.
And as we uh, moved into more epic stories in our Western literature, I'm going through my Dumas and my Brontes and that stuff, and those were homely, but they were not cozy. But there were cozy stories being told about small adventures and local heroes and that kind of stuff, and that's very traditional. And then we get these really big epic tales, your Tolkien and your Lewis and a lot of other names running around in that era, where we're telling really big stories about big casts and important things that are happening, and we need to say, no, this is a different thing. And as the epic takes a big stand, you go from, this is what a story looks like, as you're telling a story about the people in your local area and the things that matter to them, to, well, no, we need to distinguish this from the epic things that are going on. And I'm not committed that that's the case, but just I find a lot that genre is there to distinguish this way the stories have always been told, but they aren't anymore. No, this is the other kind of story.
So would
Yeah,
things like the Babysitter Club, the Boxcar Kids, Nancy Drew, Hardy Boys, would those be cozies then?
I argue
I
yes.
would Nancy Drew, and I would say yes.
I
mean,
think
she's an amateur sleuth, and her boyfriend never cheats, and her friends are true to her.
but this comes back to the same argument we have, not us, but in general about isekai. You know, this is a term that is modern to describe something that has apparently been going on for a really long time. So is it still a cozy mystery if the idea of cozy mystery did not exist at the time Nancy Drew was written? I mean, are you appropriating that term for everything so that we can apply it to the genre, or is it not eligible? I'm asking because I find that discussion interesting.
I would say that if, like, once we identify a thing, be it in science or otherwise, the fact that we didn't have that label yet because we didn't understand the thing doesn't mean the thing that came before we had the label isn't part of that thing. I don't think the fact that they were written before the term came out would stop them from being included.
No, that's the question I have. I find that interesting. So I agree with you, by the way.
Well, and does age of audience change something? Because do we still call it a cozy middle grade when these are the stories you're telling to middle grade because it's emotionally where they're generally at? So does it make it a cozy middle grade, a cozy younger YA, where a lot of these are, and you're introducing these kinds of stories and these kinds of ideas to that younger audience? Does that make it cozy, or is it cozy by nature of who the audience is? And I don't have an answer for that either. But when you say Nancy Drew and that kind of thing, I think, well, but that's also the audience that is my little girl, and I wouldn't want her reading something a lot bigger than that just yet because she's not emotionally ready for it. So is it a choice to be cozy there, or is that because of the nature of the audience?
Well,
yeah,
I'd argue that.
I was just going to
Go ahead,
say,
Hunter.
we've explored quite a bit of cozy in terms of, say, murder mystery, but maybe we'd like to chat about some of the other areas of cozy while we have time.
I was going to bring that up. Yeah, because I think cozy's existed for a really long time, especially what I would call men's cozy, which I don't think looks exactly the same. So, like, when you go back to those old westerns, when I watch what my grandfather likes to watch on, Me TV or whatever like that, when it's old episodes of Gunsmoke, I would argue that by my definition, those are like men's cozy tales. There's still some action. There's still a fist fight. There's still somebody might, like, got to catch the bandits at the end. There's these moments of drama where these strong men are taking care of whatever business, and these strong women are helping them on the emotional support side and holding the home down and things like that. But it's still, there's especially with reoccurring serials, there's these focuses, like we said, for a definition of cozy, on the relationships between them. So, Barty Badass is going to get in a gunfight almost every episode, but from a men's perspective, that is cozy. That challenge is always there. But when you're out there and there's nothing but the starry sky and the campfire and everybody's talking about how they feel and I can't wait to get back home to Martha, that's very cozy. And that's one of those, like, idyllic life kind of things. And I think that attracts that same feeling for that half of the audience.
I don't disagree. Others?
Well, I don't want to get into this because I think it's a distraction, and we need to talk about cozy fantasy because that was what started this whole idea.
Okay.
But I think that a definition of cozy that rests on what makes me feel comfortable is useless as a referrer of fiction. Okay, so genre is effectively to tell you what you can get that is more of what you like. Okay, science fiction, I get science fiction. It's a broad thing. Okay, it's a genre, but I liked, say, fantasy. I liked Lord of the Rings. I'm probably going to like Brandon Sanderson's Stormlight Archive. Okay, this is genre. But when genre gets broken down so much that it no longer has meaning to be able to refer somebody else to a new book, I don't I don't think it matters as much. And I don't think that's what Jesse was talking about, but I think it's a direction that it could go. Because I agree with you about the men's cozy fiction. I find that really fascinating. I think you're totally right that there is a difference between men's and women's cozy. But it needs to be something more than just I feel comfortable reading it. Because
I would characterize it as a lack of dread suspense once again. We know what to expect. There's going to be conflict, hard things are going to happen, but they're not going to kill a baby on screen.
Yeah.
You know,
I agree.
there are boundaries to what a cozy does in order to keep the sense of community and the sense of contract with the reader that we're telling an exciting story, but it's cozy. It's not going to do shocking and terrible things, and it's going to resolve in a certain sort of a settled kind of a way, and it's about a community of people and behaviors that we expect from this community of people.
I would second that if we wanted to segue into a good fantasy example. I enjoyed A Court of Thorns and Roses, but there are people, especially younger people, that I wouldn't recommend it for. On the other hand, I really loved An Enchantment of Ravens. It is also a story about a young woman that goes off to the land of the Fae and gets her Fae man and has an adventure, but everything's toned down to what you think of. Everything is a bit more toned down. She saves the day by painting because she is a master painter. And it's beautiful and it hits the notes, but just a little milder.
But does that make it cozy?
It has elements that I believe are cozy. Like there's much less emphasis on what I'm saying is much less emphasis on fighting and more. This is an artist going out into a beautiful place, making connections with the Fae and the Fae guy she really likes, and him seeing her zit and she feels really uncomfortable about it.
I have that book sitting on my shelf in India, so I have to get to reading it sometime. But anyway, we started this for you viewers. We started this as a discussion about what cozy fantasy was and was not. And my feeling is that currently cozy fantasy is more of a descriptor than a genre, because you can pick up a book and so many people want to be writing cozy fantasy. And so they will call their books cozy fantasy. And it's back to what I was saying about genre and being able to recommend a book. If I pick it up and say, oh, this is cozy, you'll like it. And the person takes it and says, this is not cozy. This is not what I had in mind at all. So I think it's a bunch of really useful descriptors, but I'm not sure that makes it as solid a genre as cozy mystery, if that makes sense. And I don't know why that is. Maybe it's just still being shaken down.
That's not fair because fantasy never has boundaries the way anything else does.
Okay, that's true. That's reasonable. But it's not the fantasy. Well, it's not the fantasy that's at issue. It's whether it's cozy or not that's at issue. I mean, you could have a million different kinds of fantasy and they could all be cozy. But right now, nobody agrees on what that is.
And what are the pillars of that in fantasy? Go.
I think that it's characteristic of fantasy to go and break all of those. Really, fantasy or mystery has two really, really strong trope sets for cozy mystery. You either have the young woman who doesn't have her life together and she wears tight black pants and she has a detective boyfriend. Or you have the old woman who knows how to bake and crochet and happens to solve mysteries on the side while she talks to her cat. And there's strong trope sets, and that's great and lovely. And you're exactly right. You know exactly what you're looking for. You know exactly what you're going to get. And the problem is that fantasy doesn't live in that ballpark just as a set of characteristics. Fantasy doesn't conform to a strong trope set outside of a few really narrow, interesting niches like Academy and like Space Marines.
Yeah.
Which I'm taking science fiction, kind of sweeping it into a fantasy pile because
I think that's reasonable. I think
it's a perfectly fair sleight of hand.
Yeah.
And most other fantasy, you're like, what is this? And you're like, well, we can do first world and second world. Second world
Mhm.
fantasy is a clear set of rules. First world fantasy is a clear set of rules. But after that, what is a fantasy? And we all kind of really struggle to so we make a long list of character tropes and hope that that's enough. And that's where this cozy thing is kind of is slotting in on a long list of character tropes. You have a strong female lead, you have a found family, you have a cozy. And cozy means, and this is, I'm not necessarily advancing a viewpoint because I don't really know. I would love for cozy to mean something really narrow and specific, like Legends and Lattes. But I don't think that the fantasy readers in the fantasy sort of culture is going to stand by that, because we wander, we're unmoored, we do whatever we want. And what I'm sort of sensing is that cozy is a sense of, you're not going to be profoundly shocked and upset and unbased by the content of the book. It's not going to try to change you, it's not going to try to hurt you. It's a story about I think the people are still probably core to it, that it's about relationships and it's about personality and it's about station and it's about those kind of things. But what you're feeling is that sense of, this is expanding to fill the room. It's becoming gaseous.
Sort of. It's calling it a genre that is catching me. I think what you have just described is a set of characteristics similar to Noble Bright or Grimdark as applied to fiction. You know, you have cozy, and that's a descriptor. So well, and it's like you say, mystery is much more confined, and so you can have a cozy mystery genre. You maybe can't have a cozy fantasy genre, but you can have cozy fantasy novels, and they are all going to look very different. So yeah. All right, Hunter.
So am I leading this? What
So-
is your favorite?
You didn't get to say your thing.
So real quick, Hunter. So you mentioned Legends and Lattes, and I've actually read that one. And from what I remember, the ad was, it was progression fantasy. I don't remember it being originally classified as cozy.
I don't think it's progression fantasy, is it?
No,
Because no,
it's
if you
kind
look,
of
it's a progression of her coffee shop, where it's constantly increasing what they sell. It's constantly increasing the drinks, the foods, the improving the building, adding.
I've never heard it categorized that way.
I guess you could make that case, but yeah, but you're right.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was originally categorized as cozy fantasy. I don't
Because
think
people-
so.
No, that was an invented term afterwards. That Legends and Lattes starts trying to find the right, the delineation. I guess that's the right word.
Yeah.
Of this like cozy thing. Because the cozy is, and I have the same argument with horror, which makes a lot of people mad. But it's like Predator. What kind of movie is Predator? Is it a horror movie or is it an action movie? Is it a sci-fi movie or is it a military thriller? And the answer is, it's all of those things, because when you take everything and you mix them in together, you pick and choose what you want, and then you make a whole cake. It's like the chocolate swirls in your swirl cake. Like, well, did you make a chocolate cake or a yellow cake? Well, I made both, dude. Can't you look at it and see that?
But that's called marble cake. It has a name.
Yeah, well, it can have a name, a new name, and that's fine. But when we only have one example, which isn't really true, because light novels existed long before Legends and Lattes, but that's a whole other argument I'm not going to get into. But the fact of the matter is, if you base a genre off of one example, anything else you write in the genre is not going to look 100% perfect, or it's going to be just a crap copy. If you're original, when you produce the next cozy fantasy, you're going to have to add 50% of something else, because it's going to have to look different and to not be a ripoff. So now the genre is so small at first that you struggle with that. Like, it's like, okay, well, what was cozy, what wasn't? What was fantasy, what wasn't? Like, what pieces are we pulling out of all this?
So, just because I was curious, I went and asked Grok what it defined cozy fantasy specifically.
Involved.
So first, I was wrong. While I would consider it progression fantasy, it was never officially billed that way. Readers called it that. It was originally advertised as cozy fantasy. That on its inception, it was considered a cozy fantasy novel.
Okay,
I was wrong.
Okay. I was wrong too.
It's a subgenre of fantasy that focuses on low stakes, heartwarming, and comforting stories, emphasizing a relaxed, feel good atmosphere over high stakes conflicts or epic battles. Common tropes include gentle narratives, which means that it's defining as basically character driven stories, charming settings, and minimal violence in a warm overall tone, which, tone can be anything, but that's according to the AI robots over at Grok. For what that's worth. And basically all Grok is doing is it's not technically an AI, it's a large language model. It just surfs the internet for you and then compiles the data in real time. So that is what the consensus at the moment, as per what's online, says cozy fantasy is.
Okay.
Now, I'm sure by the facial expressions, some of you have some quibbling on that one. Chloe.
I think that is an excellent synthesis of the essayists on what a cozy fantasy is.
Okay.
I've spent just the barest scant amount of time over on Reddit, though, on a couple of cozy boards where they're looking for cozy fantasy recommendations. And it feels to me like readers are drifting off of that pretty substantially, which is where, again, I'm not ready to stake a line in the sand and say this is what I think, because I'm not sure that I do think. I observe. Yeah, I observe. And while I really would love to have this is what a cozy fantasy is, because geez, a few just solid definitions it'd go a long way in communicating from one among us. But it feels to me like readers are drifting into, I've had a whole bunch of my books recommended as cozy fantasies. And I've also had my books described as epic fantasies. And I'm scratching my head going, okay, what is this telling me about what readers think and what they are looking for out of their books? And there's some really interesting conclusions that I'm very gently drawing, and trying not to be real structured and say this is how it must be and you're simply mistaken. Because I think that it's addressing a reader taste and a reader desire for a specific kind of fiction that they're communicating with each other very well. I think they're telling each other what they need to know, and they're using a word that the authors aren't using the same way. And I'm finding that really interesting. And like I said, I think Grok has got the essays right. That's what the essayists have to say about cozy fantasy.
But if we go back to what Jesse was talking about earlier about what men find to be cozy or that kind of thing, and Melissa said, but that's what you're comfortable with. And I think that that's one of the terms that gets confusing is comfort and cozy. And so a lot of people think, well, this thing that is a comfort food to me, that I read it and I feel these things and it feels very familiar and all of that kind of stuff, that comfort equals cozy. And so as authors and as marketers and that kind of thing, we try to put the structure around it to say, well, but cozy mystery and the way we look at cozy has defined structure. But like Chloe says, I don't know that that's what readers are using it as. They're saying the things that make me comfortable, those stories that hit that kind of emotional resonance, I'm calling that cozy, even though we're saying, well, but we want it structurally to be certain things. Now, from a marketing point of view, I work for My Book Cave. This is no secret or anything. And so we help authors with rating their books. And so we have them rated on a whole bunch of different content things. We have information about the kinds of structures of the books and all that kind of stuff. We have cozy breakouts in our genre and cozy emailing lists that go out. And we have certain rules about what can and cannot go into those cozy things. And these came from our readers. So we said, we're adding these. What are the things that you want to see or not? So, for example, a cozy can't ever be rated more than about a moderate, which is a PG-13 kind of rating. So it can have action in it. It can have a little bit of kissing, all that kind of thing. But the content that pushes it out of that, as soon as I see a content rating above that, I have to go and reanalyze the book, and it gets moved into the flat genre. It goes from being a cozy mystery to a mystery because our readers have come back, and it's tens of thousands of them that we pulled these from, and said that is not what we mean when we want you to send us a list of recommended cozies. So it's also, what do the readers mean? Well, they do mean tends to be lower content, tends to be comfort reads, tend to be that kind of thing, even though there's probably a lot of fuss within that. But just from a marketing point of view, that's what I can market to them. Because when we don't and we get it wrong and something with the sex scene slips through or whatever, we hear it. And it's, that is not a cozy. I don't know why I was on the cozy list. You suck, blah. So there you go. They get very, very upset.
I get that. I'm just excited that now cozy's, a positive term, because before we had cozy as a term, we had, you want to watch Hallmark with your grandma? Really? Really? And now it's, this is what I enjoy. And I'm proud that I like, these adventures and these shenanigans. But instead of being here, about here. And now it's much easier to find.
So I don't think, I get what you're saying, but I don't know that I'd classify necessarily Hallmark as cozy, but it too has its own sort of defined tropes you would expect.
Yeah.
I almost call that.
Yeah, not to bash Hallmark. There's some cute ones.
No, but I mean, it's almost the main story is leave her fiance, return home, fall in love with a small town guy. That's the
Okay, that
No.
I'm going to jump in here and put you back on track. All right. The difference between a Hallmark movie and a cozy is that the Hallmark movie is about a central relationship and a cozy is about a community. There are more important characters in a cozy than there are in a romance.
Yeah.
And there is nothing wrong with having a plot that only has 2 or 4 main characters, if you include the besties and
the best friends,
the tropes to that.
But especially if there's a dog.
The cozy has a broader community of people who are central to the relationships and the structure of the book.
Yeah.
So does cozy
I just
look
like that now, it's like thrift shop. It's not a bad word anymore, and it's not an outdated word. It's, this is something I enjoy, and now I'm going to go find it.
Wait, thrift shop was a bad word? When?
Oh,
I guess I was never rich enough.
I mean, like there was a time when my older brothers were shopping as kids where it was like, okay, our budget is the thrift shop, guys. Good luck. And now I'm taking my kids to the thrift shop because I'm like, well, you have $10. Do you want to get 1 cute shirt or 2 cute shirts, dear? I'm going to the thrift shop.
Okay.
Think how many books you can get at the thrift shop.
Yeah. So
huge collection.
Does cozy look different when you put it in space, in the sci-fi setting?
Yeah, it has to.
Yeah, I was going to say it has to. Jesse.
Okay, in what way? Because I don't, like I said, cozy's not my thing. We're doing this because you guys asked for this episode.
So I'll take over this one. So cozy looks different in sci-fi the same way it has to look different in the books that I was talking about that are like harem lit. Because we talk about the community, right? So in harem lit, the community is the main character and all his ladies. They make that community. They make the best friend. They make the carpenter, the candlestick maker. He's dating all of them. And the difference then is that this is an audience that allows, because of audience differences and audience expectations, that allows things to get, full on R-rated. And that's okay. Again, this being like a men's cozy more than anything like that. Sci-fi has to make some similar considerations, not with as far as the sex content is concerned, but sci-fi, when we take adventures out in space, when we start adding in the alien tropes, you have to allow for a different set of issues that you're dealing with. You have to allow for environmental concerns. You have to allow for the fact that sci-fi is going to include some element of science into it. And a lot of people that want cozy are not going to want these like super huge technical explanations, but that's part of science fiction. So yeah, you're going to have to think about balancing things like that, all the different threats of life when you start doing cozy sci-fi.
Firefly is a cozy. Change my mind.
I'm good. I'm cool with that. But Firefly had to account for that too. Like it had. I agree. I don't disagree. But it still had to account for that.
I don't think that science fiction changes anything about cozy. One of my favorite Pratchett quotes is, "Science fiction is fantasy with bolts on." And it changes the details of the life that's going on, but you can write space-based science fiction with characters who are completely agnostic about the technology around them, and it's a lovely, charming, cozy setting in space, and it works just about the same.
I would argue that, I mean, yeah, I agree. I would argue that it's not quite cozy, but the same appeal for cozy is why I loved The Murderbot Diaries by Martha Wells. I mean, it's got strong language that does not belong in a typical cozy, but it's this cyborg person that has to go on these missions to save the stupid humans and doesn't like the blood and guts, so doesn't dwell on the blood and guts or the sex, because that's gross and boring. And has to get through the missions so it can go back to watching TV. And its best friend is another robot, and they watch TV together.
Yeah, art.
Art.
And see, I think a lot of Doctor Who would be cozy science fiction because it's a big community. It's all time and space, but the stories are always about the smaller community, the place they found themselves, the companions, the doctor, the things like that. And I've read colonization cozy science fiction. So when you get into science fiction, and this is another problem with even the big fantasy, is that then you start breaking it into our established subgenres. Like, I think it would be a lot harder to have accepted cozy military science fiction
Or hard
versus
sci-fi.
or hard sci-fi versus cozy colonization, cozy aliens. So you can get into some of those, and some of them will lean themselves easy to cozy. Some will lean themselves far away, and maybe if you're really, really good, you could find a way to do that. I'm not going to say that JR couldn't write really cozy space marines. I'm waiting to see them with their crocheting and stuff in space.
Lovely.
It would be. I'm not saying he can't do it, but I am saying it would take a little bit more work than some of the things that naturally lean themselves that direction.
Yeah, I think you could probably identify stories that couldn't be cozy, but you wouldn't want to just say definitely not ever, because there would be someone who would figure it out. So maybe there's some that are less obvious. I mean, I'm not quite ready to commit to Firefly being a cozy because my definition is a little different, but it's definitely closer to being cozy than I don't know. I can't think of a good example because I just thought of Babylon 5, and Babylon 5 is actually kind of cozy too. So I don't know. I can't think of one, but yeah.
I might put Star Trek as a little bit of a contrast because it's not about the personalities and the relationships at quite the same level.
Yeah, it's different, and the focus is different. It's not about that. Yeah. So that's a good one.
Well, and I think a lot of what we've covered as far as the oh no, that'd be fine, you could totally do that cozy, is science fantasy. It is light sci-fi where it's oh, we have the technology now, and we don't bother with that. I feel like Jana pointed out, mill sci-fi, harder sci-fi, you're going to have to, it's not that you can't do it, it's just there are considerations that have to be made. Because I'd love to do cozy space marines. That sounds like a lot of fun, but they're still going to be cussing all the way through their gunfights, and I got to figure out how.
Then it's not cozy anymore.
Yeah.
I cannot put you in the cozy category to market you as soon as you start dropping F-bombs.
Sadly true. That does seem to be kind of a universal. I mean, I was saying earlier that I think on one level it's kind of meaningless if you can't say this is cozy because you can't transfer that, but I think there's I don't know, I think it's going to depend on how you handle it, how you fit. It's not going to be useful in some respects, but in other respects it is totally useful. So anyway, yeah.
So basically, the consensus is we're all over the place because readers are all over the place, and your mileage may vary. Is what I'm getting.
Fantasy doesn't care about the rules.
Yeah. Well,
and as always,
go ahead. Really?
Well, they get really rule centric when it comes about their magic.
Well, okay. There's rules within subgenres of fantasy. I think that there are things that you do in fantasy that for a certain group they're going to say, no, that is not what I mean. But as a whole, there's plenty of room for cozy and fantasy because there are so many different things. And I don't know. I think I like the fact that there's room for it in fantasy. I spent a lot of years being a literary critic, and what I did was recommend books for people. And from that perspective, the cozy descriptor is not as useful to me because it does mean so many different things to so many different people. So I don't want to come down and say that means it's useless in general. Just from that perspective, from being able to tell someone, oh, you like cozy fantasy, you can read this book. We're not there yet. We're not there yet because there is no real consensus on what is definitely cozy.
And I don't feel it coming.
No, I don't. I don't see. Well, okay. I'm not going to say never for that either, because there are a lot of things that I did not think were going to happen, and they happened in terms of literary tastes and changes. I did not predict the YA boom from about 15 years ago. And from 20 years ago, when I was trying to force adult readers to read young adult fantasy because it was excellent and they would have nothing of it, totally no clue that this was going to happen. So, it could. It's possible. I don't know if it will. And ultimately, it doesn't matter, except that what I would like is to be able to sit people down and say, all right, you like cozy fantasy. What do you think that means? Tell me your top 5. That's what I'd like.
I might actually draw a parallel between cozy fantasy and YA fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you like YA fantasy, that tells me absolutely nothing about the kind of books you like.
That's correct.
It just tells me a couple of things about probably the protagonist and the age of the crew that they run with, and the top end of the violence and sexuality, which is maybe higher than I'm comfortable with. But in adult fantasy, it goes beyond that. So it tells me a little bit something about the top end of the stuff that you're willing to put up with in your books, or that you're looking for in your books.
True.
And cozy has a little bit of a similar characteristic to it.
I agree. Mm-hmm.
It doesn't limit the range of the protagonist, but it does kind of limit the range of the cast.
Mm-hmm.
And it has that same sense of there's a top end to the stuff that you can cram into this and have it still fit.
And speaking of language, yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit analogous to a YA categorization.
Yeah. And YA didn't used to be like that, but we need to have a panel on YA fiction, JR, which we talked about
that.
And it did not happen. And
because people canceled on me, so we have to reschedule.
I did not cancel on you. I'm just saying.
I'm not saying it was you that canceled on
never
me.
cancel.
We couldn't do the panel.
No, I have opinions about YA fantasy. So
I am sure
I have
you do.
opinions about everything.
It's
Anyway.
true. So is there any common theme that we can use as a wrap up before we bring this puppy to a close? Because I know some of you turn into pumpkins earlier than I do. So
I feel called out. Thanks.
well, for you, I'm worried about you need like time to go hydrate with that heat lamp you're sitting under.
Oh my gosh. But it's coming along nicely. So
It looks
it's going to be
nice.
very pretty.
He's sitting next to a cactus.
I know. I love this background.
Now, I think that the definition of cozy fantasy and of cozy broadly outside of cozy mystery is still something of a moving target, as the industry is looking to find the taste that readers are demonstrating using those words. It's something that I think is going to happen with evolutionary force a lot more than academic force, as readers find each other and say, yes, this is the thing that I'm looking for. Let's use a word for it. And the word doesn't even have to mean what they mean about it. They just pick a word and they go with it, and good for them. But I think that we're still in a very molten stage of evolution where there are a lot of things that could end up in that basket that we wouldn't anticipate, I suspect.
And to refine on that, I mean, everything you were saying, but what I wanted to pick up on was the idea that the readers are the one defining cozy fantasy, not the writers. And I think writers would like to, because it's so popular, you would like to be able to say my book is cozy fantasy, which it might be, but that's still telling them everything in my book is cozy. And I think it is going to be, if we end up with a solid definition, it will be because readers made it that way.
Yeah.
And we do this iteratively. I can't say the word. Anyway, especially since self-publishing came up and we see a lot of trends come and go a lot faster because we're not moving at the space of traditional publishing necessary, but we're able to kind of follow reader trends and pull out niche things and things like that. We have seen a lot of stuff that has risen up and been popular for a very short period of time and then kind of crash out, and it has merged with other things. Like Chloe says, it's molten and it merges with other things or it becomes something else. And then we have some that suddenly have legs that we never thought would have legs, and then they go on to really become a thing of their own and to start defining what that thing looks like. I'm thinking like reverse harem. When it first came out, we wouldn't put a category for it or anything else. The advertising was really weird because everybody went, this is a weird thing and it is going to go away. It did not go away. It has hung on, and it's really started to define this is what it means. And I think cozy fantasy is in that place where it's saying, are we going to hang on as cozy fantasy, taking cues from our sister cozy mystery? Are we going to become our own thing, or is this going to mesh out and become part of something else? And we don't know yet because we're still in that wave of it to where it hasn't decided and the readers haven't decided what it means. So give us another little bit and we see if it sticks and what structure they start developing around it. And about the time we get that figured out, the next wave starts.
I do think that we have just like three quick little like pieces that we have identified over the course of the conversation, though. I think like a positive community, positive relationships, and some kind of positive space. There's the coffee shop, the library, the couch. When those three things exist, I think you're going to encapsulate cozy, at least to some manner. Now, whether that makes up 50% of your book or not, and what the defining of that is from there, we can argue. But I do think when you put those three things together, you get cozy pretty well.
Any closing thoughts, Hunter?
Oh, I'm just in a daze. Also, I will have been to MizCon this coming weekend, and I'm already exhausted. So 4-day convention, and it will have been a party. And then some. So I'm winding down, but I'm always happy to give and get cozy recs, because between my intense reads, I like my breather reads.
I know you said rec and you meant recommendation, but I'm just picturing people crashing to get you story ideas. So
if they can make it cozy, they can do it.
Nice.
Like a cozy NASCAR Hallmark movie.
Cozy NASCAR would be fun.
There are some fun mashups. I wonder if we could get, who was the guy that did Pokemon and
Jim Butcher, Pokemon of the Roman Legion.
I wonder if we can get some more weird mashups and challenge some people to write some fun stuff, just because not me, because my calendar is full of people, but
next year.
I mean, if
add me to the challenge next year.
Put it out there. If anyone wants it out there, oh man, the blur is messing me over.
That's the blurs, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a good thing though. If you want a fun mashup, I just suggest my Migratory Farmer series, because you get your adventure farmers, and they're farmers, but it's adventures. I'm just saying. You don't give up your farm life to become the hero. You embrace it.
When it comes to farming, my mind always goes to that funny Netflix show, Delicious in Dungeon.
Oh, yeah.
Farming. That's the one you never expect, right? But anyway, you also don't expect the Spanish Inquisition. So
that's correct.
Chloe.
No one expects the Spanish Inquisition.
No one, except for Chloe. She wrote about it in advance because she was pressing it like that. Chloe, what are you writing at the moment, and how can listeners and viewers find you?
I have just started the next book in my paranormal detective series, and it is so much fun to be back. I'm snarky now. I haven't been snarky in a while, and I've missed it. You can find me online at chloegarner.com if you want news update posts of the essay style, or to sign up for a newsletter to get those delivered directly to your inbox. Or you can find me as an actual live human being on Facebook and my Facebook group, where the loveliest people on the whole planet live.
All righty, Hunter. what are you writing at the moment, and how can people stalk you on the lovely internet?
Oh, well, you can stalk me at hunterkwallace.com or find me on Facebook. And I'm currently working on the 4th cozy book in my Migratory Farmer series about a woman who needs to break her death curse. And along the way, she gets help from a cute little shapeshifter that is called Bunny. It's also a Lord of Death, but you know. And a woman with more personalities than you can imagine, and her ex-husband, and it is going to be a hoot, and we're going to get so many cute things in there while some people drop dead.
Some of you
not
may
too
die.
much.
It's a sacrifice I'm willing to make.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, Jenna, what are you in your multiple personalities writing at the moment, and then where might they find you on the wild, wild interwebs?
You can find multiple of me over at opalkingdompress.com. If you are a writer, I have an open call there for Griffin Stories that is open until the end of July, and I would be happy to listen to your stories about giant winged, cool, awesome beasts. So I really like Griffin, so it's going to be a good one. And what I'm writing has been confusing in the last little bit because I've been getting another anthology out. So a lot of my focus has been getting all of that done. But I am trying to get back to my urban fantasy, get that finished, get it out the door, and then figure out what comes next. Because I sat down yesterday and started writing all the things that I'd either started, had grand ideas about, or wanted to loop back to. And the list just kept going off the page. And eventually my husband said, go to bed now. So there's lots to get done, and I'm trying to get it all.
All right. Jesse, what are you writing at the moment, and how might they find you on the internet?
I am working on Gravesinger, which is my first full-length novel. It is a Holy Diver in the Midnight Sea novel, which is kind of like Shadowrun meets Sliders, is the best way I can explain that. You're going to get elements of sci-fi, fantasy, everything in between. You're going to find it all in the Midnight Sea. I'm working on that, and I'm working on 8 billion short stories, including War Hamster and some Raconteur Press Antho stuff and things like that. Way too many short stories. I have 30,000 words of short stories due in July. It's going to be fun trying to get all that done. Yeah, White Look.
Set anthologies that you volunteered for.
Yeah, and that's on top of doing all the editing for. So I have a lot to do. You're going to be seeing a lot from me. I'm in a lull of publishing, but once all that gets done, it's all gonna hit at one time. If you would like to find my stuff, the 5 shorts I have out so far, you can find links to everything at outlawauthor.com. Outlawauthor.com will also give you all of my socials. I am on Twitter, Substack, Instagram. I'm on Facebook. That's my personal page. You're more than welcome to add me. I announce all my stuff there, but that's going to be gunfire, heavy metal, snark, and lots of foul language. So if you're not ready for those things, if you're not ready, don't show up.
So I'm predicting lots of caffeine in your future.
Lots of something. I'll figure it out as I go.
So I'm going to predict that Melissa is writing War Hamster Volume 20 now. No. So what are you writing, and then how can they find you, Melissa?
Well, the War Master series is concluded, and I have been writing some short stories while I decide which project to take on next. I have 4 possibilities, and none of them are really grabbing me. They're all equally interesting is what I mean. There's nothing that I'm dying to write. So it will either be more lit RPG, it will be more of my Dark Goddess, Paladin, and Werewolf series, it might be more of my Living Oracle series, or it could be something set in the world I invented for my Griffin story that I submitted to Jana's anthology.
Woo!
So I have options. We'll see what happens.
All right. And you can this is the part of the end.
Hang on, I forgot to say where you can find me. MelissaMcShaneWrites.com is my website. That leads to everything. So go there. Sorry. Now you can. This is the part where the podcast where
I like to remind everyone to please be kind and speak your mind on the reviewing platforms. Your reviews help the right readers find the right book. So do your part. It really does make a difference. And you can find us on our Linktree, linktr.ee, Linktree/Blasters and Blades Podcast. Again, Linktree/Blasters and Blades Podcast, where we link to all the things, the bitches, the rumbles, the YouTube, the TikToks, the Twitters, Spotify, Discord, Blasters and Blades Facebook group, and Facebook page. You can email us at blastersandbladespodcast@gmail.com. Again, blastersandbladespodcast@gmail.com for professional purposes only, people. Save the shenanigans from Stabby Stab over there on the Instagram, the Twitter, and the email. You can support the show by going to buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. Again, buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. Be sure to put in the comment section that it is for the podcast, and I promise I will keep my co-hosts duly caffeinated. They will drink that coffee brand coffee till it sweats out of their pores, and then they'll just turn into coffee popsicles. No, that doesn't really work in the studio, does it? I know something, and you can get some of that coffee brand coffee for yourself. Link is in the show notes. Discount code is podcast grunts. You get 10% off. We get a little bit of a kickback. It's a win-win, people. And with that, I would like to thank you for spending some of your precious time with us. For my crazy co-host, I am J.R. Handley, and this was the Blasters and Blades Podcast. We'll be back next week at the same time. We'll indulge our love of nerd culture, cheesy jokes, and all things that go boom. All right, thanks for coming on, everyone. This was fun. I am sure we will get reader and listener comments that will send us down more rabbit holes on this topic as we narrow it down, but that is the way of things, and we have no problems with that. So with that, I'm going to hit the end button. Don't cuss yet, Jesse.